All right, thanks everybody for joining us today. You're here with SalesIntel and Owler. We're going to be talking about using buying intel to supercharge your ABM campaigns. You have with us today, I'm Jason Hubbard. I'm Vice President of Growth at SalesIntel. And we have Nathan Steele from Owler. Nathan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, guys.
Great to have you.
Yeah, glad to
Owler
be
is
here.
a great team to work with. We've been partnered with them for a long time now, so excited to have you guys on with us. Cool. So quick agenda. Today we're going to cover what exactly do we mean by buying intel or intent data. We'll talk about how do you use that information to design an ABM campaign around the insights that you get from that. Then we'll talk a little bit about how do you use that to build your ICP as well as your outreach channels around it. And then we'll close it all off with the tech that you need to be able to drive success in these campaigns. All right, I'll go ahead and let you kick it off here and go into some detail on what exactly buying intel is, since that's what Owler specializes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did see a chat. ABM is account-based marketing, and really, there's a lot of ways to look at intent data. So I mean, intent data really is kind of behavioral information. I mean, you can read it here. That's collected about individuals' online activities, their behavior. Does it actually show you that they're leaning in a specific direction? There is some companies out there that literally collect intent data. So hey, I'm looking for a new CRM. I'm going to go online and I'm going to start looking for that. Is there a way to track that information? Great way too is if you run a website, you can track cookies and things like that, at least for now. And as you collect that information, you see maybe 12 people at the same company have landed on your site. You begin to see whether or not maybe they're interested in buying your products. So that's kind of, I think, the traditional view of intent data. And really, I think it's beginning to expand into kind of market trends and other things like that. So you can see below. So, hey, what's going on in the latest news and press updates around not only an industry, but perhaps your specific company? What's going on? Is there any security issues or legal issues? Things that may actually drive a possible sale into the business. A great way to also go out and discover if there's other companies in your space, or perhaps some of those companies have received funding. If they receive funding, does that intent show you that they're about to ramp up and expand their team? Are they looking for new sales tools? Are they looking for new support tools, so on and so forth? And then, of course, identifying company acquisitions. What intent does that drive across the business? So it's really taking a step back and not looking specifically for, are you looking to buy my product? But what is happening within the market and what's happening within the companies that you are specifically focused on that could perhaps drive a buying intent within the company.
That's great. I'm sure you've encountered quite a few of these over the years. Are there any really interesting anecdotes or anything of really useful piece of intent data that's been effective for some of your clients?
For me specifically, I think hands down, my favorite kind of intent data side is awards. I've spent the majority of my career in customer success and customer support, so I work a lot with specific accounts, managing those renewals, making sure that they're happy with the products they purchase from our company. And the best way that I've ever found to get in touch with a customer that maybe isn't replying a lot, or even as a sales prospect to reach out and try to expand the account, is I keep an eye on all of my accounts I'm working with. Ironically, of course, I use Owler, but I track those companies in real time. And anytime an award is announced for that company, whether it's a celebration for hitting record amounts, whether they just won, the best product in their market space through G2 or whatever it may be, those awards come directly to me. And I can go out and personalize that message, that outreach to my customers, say, hey, congratulations on winning this incredible award. Let's hop on a call and talk about it. I want to learn more about your business, why you won it, what you guys are doing that makes it special. And then the most important thing there is understanding how my business and my value proposition can align into where they're succeeding, and to kind of position our product into a conversation that's going to drive their business to be even more successful and grow on that award that they just won.
That's great. And that touches on kind of two different use cases for it. One is to try and identify net new accounts that you want to target. The other is to try and find angles or soft touch introductions, ways to get your foot in the door using news and notifications. And of course, those are not mutually exclusive. You can use those both in tandem with each other. But two distinct use cases for being able to use this type of information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. And Ryan, I see that you've got several questions you've posted in there. We'll just set those aside and cover those all together at the end, as well as anybody else. All right, Nathan, I'll let you run with this next one here.
Yeah. So really, it's kind of pulling off that understanding of what intent data is, and then it's understanding, okay, how can I go and design kind of an account-focused campaign with using this intel? And really, I would say there's two key ways to do that, and I have a couple bullet points under each one. But first is timing. When you're focusing on a specific account, you don't just want to send email after email after email after email with no purpose, no reason, no understanding of what's going on. And so I think what's really important is to then begin really tracking that company and that industry in real time to really understand, hey, what's going on at this account? Is there any major position changes? Is there any major, announcements in terms of funding or acquisitions or, awards, like I said before? So really just understanding, hey, what's going on with this account? What's going on with their top competitors? Have we seen a massive spike in growth in this industry? And I know that this company, related to all their competitors, aren't in the same space. They're not growing at the same rate, or they're falling behind, whatever it may be. And then, of course, keeping an eye on those news articles and triggers, they're going to tell you, hey, here's the compelling event I've been waiting for, that I can now personalize my message with this specific timing event that's going to drive open rates to my emails. It's going to drive conversations and going to make it more relevant for that specific company and customer, rather than just the typical marketing aspect of, hey, let's send out the same message to everyone and see who bites. So timing, I think, is the most important thing that gives you the power when you're using intent. The next, of course, is personalization, which goes right in line with timing. Is once I know when I need to react, then it's all about what the message is. So if I have the timing accurate, but I don't have the personalized message accurate, you're still missing the opportunity. So once you know the timing, then it's looking at, okay, what was the event that caused this timing to be relevant? And how can I take my story for my product and personalize it with, whether it's a headline, the specific headline that actually states what is going on with this company at that time, using that in the subject lines of your emails, using that in your cold call outreach of positioning this message of, hey, congratulations, or hey, I noticed this is happening. Did you know your competitors have achieved X, Y, and Z? Where are you guys at that space? So it's personalizing the message, aligning it with the timing to really drive a powerful sales campaign to those specific companies you're focused on.
That's great. It goes right in line with what we were talking about before, is kind of different use cases and approaches to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So, one of the use cases that we talked about was using the intent data to identify the companies that you want to target, trying to find ones you may have not been aware of that would be good targets for you. Once you sort of have that information, from there, you need to build, a successful ABM campaign. And the first two steps, or the two crucial pieces to that, are identifying your named accounts, your ICP, your ideal customer profile. So things that you would look at for that consistency across those, or indicators you'd want to look at, are things like, what industry or vertical are they part of, company size, number of employees, annual revenue, are there geographic trends, technographic stuff. So if you have a product or a service that plugs in or specific to a certain technology, like a CRM like Salesforce, or marketing automation platform like HubSpot or Marketo, or a ERP system, whatever, those technologies can be really crucial. And the technographic side can also play in, really all of these can play in with the intent data. Employee size, company size, revenue, all of those can be tied into, obviously, company announcements, whether they're posting for jobs. Technographics, oftentimes you can look at what technologies are they evaluating. And so all of those play in together to help you identify the types of accounts you want to go after. And then once you have those, you can plug that into a tool like SalesIntel that has filters around these different things to be able to identify other similar companies. Similarly, you're going to want to look at your personas, your decision makers that you need to sell to. So who are the titles, the roles within that company that you need to talk to? Every time it comes out, it's a higher number, but most recent is something like 8 decision makers on the that are part of the decision now on average. So being sure that you know who those people are that you need to be targeting at those companies that you need to be targeting, and bringing all of that together in with the intent data to be able to make sure you're prioritizing and targeting the right ones. So again, you identify named accounts. Here are some examples of things that you would use as metrics around that. And then a tool like SalesIntel, where you can actually build all your lists and your filters to be able to pull and identify those companies as well as the decision makers. And then figuring out who are the exact roles, the personas, with the roles and responsibilities at the companies that you want to target. And then from there, so you now have the companies you want to target, you have intent data to figure out who to prioritize, you have news and information that makes your outreach timely and topical and engaging. And so from there, you know who, what companies, you know what to talk about. How do you actually go about reaching out to them? What channels should you use? And the question here, which channels are most effective, is honestly a trick question. So on average, you're going to see a 400% improvement in engagement if you add 2 additional channels to your outreach. So if you go from 1 to 3 channels of outreach, on average, you're going to see a 4 times lift in your engagement off of that. So the answer to it is all of the above. Use all the channels at your disposal, figure out where they're most engaged, where it's most effective, and reach out and engage on those channels. So examples of that: email, phone, video, social, events, text. Make sure the outreach is done well. Make sure you're using scripting templates instead of just off the cuff. Make sure you have data on the individual level, one-to-one connections, both on the persona and within the industry. Again, this is where having, up-to-date news and intent data can be so valuable, because you now have good excuses to reach out to those people. And then, an example of reaching out on the right channel. Oftentimes, salespeople prefer to just get on the phone. So phone can be one of the most effective channels for trying to get in touch with salespeople. Marketers like myself oftentimes prefer email. So for a lot of us, that may be a better channel to reach out on. A lot of times you'll see trends that are specific to specific companies, specific industries, or certain roles within the organization. What do you guys see on your end that tends to be most effective for reaching out?
I would definitely agree. I think, phone for us is still a very powerful tool. I think people outside of sales tend to not like getting on the phone, so text messages really comes in there. One that's actually been really promising, and I've heard across the industry as well, that's growing and old has become new, is direct mail. Sending a postcard, sending a gift, whatever it may be, has actually been pretty powerful for specific account-based sales. Of, hey, I know I'm going to go target this account. I'm really going to focus on growing that. Once I now understand who the key decision makers are based off the product I'm trying to sell, I'm going to go target those people with direct mail. And it's actually been really powerful. Now, I think there's a middle point where you can go overboard. And of course, that's going to start to take over, and people kind of move to that more and more as, phone calls and social and all these things kind of become too noisy and people don't focus on it. So that's where I think rolling back and really personalizing the message so that you do stand out amongst the 300 emails we all get every day is really critical.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up direct mail. I did a webinar, I guess maybe a month or so ago, with a direct mail company, and they were talking about the same, how much old has sort of become new again. In a lot of ways, we're back to sales and marketing 101. We flooded everything with marketing automation, call centers, auto dialers, all of that stuff. And so it's made it harder and harder to break through. You've got, gatekeepers like Google, even legislation coming out that's restricting these types of things. And so, the old spray and pray approach that's kind of dominated things for the last 5 or 10 years is really having to be reassessed, and
Yeah.
you're really having to figure out how to do targeted approach with the right content at the right people at the right time. And all of that is, really highlights how important this type of intel and intent data really is. But yeah, direct mail has really sort of made a resurgence within that. Similarly, I do agree. SMS text message is one that that a lot of people are just starting to use. I'd be really
Hmm.
interested to hear a little bit about, what strategies you've used around that. Obviously, some people are still pretty touchy about being reached out via text message. So yeah, I would love to hear just kind of where you've had success on that channel.
I think a lot of it boils down to, again, coming from the account side. I've connected with our customers personally, and so I've always truly believed that people love to do business with people they like, and understanding those people that you're trying to sell to, and creepy as it may sound, getting into LinkedIn and almost stalking them to a point of understanding how are they impacting the business and how does that business impact their life. You can make those closer connections when you go into the actual sales cycle and sales process. And personally, I always reach out and try to gather their cell phone. And I don't do it in a way that's pushy or salesy, but it allows me to message them much quicker and much faster, which actually has dramatically increased our sales cycle. Because when I send emails, those emails get lost in the translation or lost in the hundreds of emails they get. If I'm curious where a contract's at or where their decisions are at, or where they're at in their sales cycle themselves internally, it's much easier to send my decision makers a text message, which they reply to almost immediately, rather than waiting around for the email to get back, or, again, it just gets lost in translation. So it's, I always try to make it a point to grab personal cell phone numbers when I'm going through my sales cycle, and not just email addresses and titles.
Yeah, that's great. I think a key to it is making sure that, obviously using text message and stuff like that is, it's pretty fraught at the stage of just trying to get a conversation going or getting a meeting set. But once
Hmm.
you have that initial engagement or interest, then it can be a really effective channel for that. It's one I've instructed my team that handles inbound leads to use if they can't immediately get them on the phone, or get them to reply to an email. Shoot them a text message and ask them, hey, which channel would you prefer that we communicate or reach out to you on, and give them options, phone, email, or text message, and let them kind of say what they prefer in that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think a powerful tool there is in sales. I think no is as good as a yes, and I'd rather somebody reply back and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not interested, but thanks, get a hold of me." That just saved you 7 outreach emails that you were going to send that they weren't going to reply to. So sometimes taking that extra step of reaching out is a powerful tool to save your sales team time on accounts that are just completely uninterested in your products.
Yep. Yep. All right, so we sort of gone over, how do you use intent data? How do you build your ICP and, persona decision makers using a data tool like SalesIntel to be able to identify those companies and contacts at it? Using a multi-channel approach. So what tech do you really need to be able to enable this? And so we sort of work down, from top to bottom. At the very top, you need a data tool like SalesIntel. You need a intent predictive analytics tool like Owler, so that you can figure out who those people and those companies are to target. Then you need to reach out. So you need tools like email marketing, social management platforms. You need different channels like events, being able to do personalization, whether that be digital or direct mailer. Then on the sales side, once you get them past, marketing qualified, then you want to obviously enable your sales team. So, intelligence data goes, these go across all of these, but making sure that, your salespeople are equipped, both with the intelligence that they need, but also the tools that they need for using things like sales enablement platforms, sales acceleration platforms, the outreaches, the sales lofts of the world. And then you need, something like a CRM to be able to track this, report on it, see where you've had successes, where you haven't, where you have areas for improvement, and what you need to fix and improve, and what's worked and that you need to double down on. Anything that we missed here as far as tech stack that you guys use or you've seen as effective?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. This all kind of aligns with what we're doing, and I think it puts you in the funnel to seeing more success than what you are today if you're not doing these things.
Cool. All right. So we've got a few minutes left here. I know we've had several people write in with questions. So let's start. Ryan had a few of them here. So first off, if someone opened a branded savings account for a specific large purchase, would that be intent data or commitment data or both? Nathan, do you have insight into that?
I mean, it certainly could be intent data. Whether or not it's commitment data, I wouldn't go there. But really, if you can gather that information, clearly that's going to give you an opening that they're looking to purchase something. The difficult part they'll run into is finding out specifically what that is without, of course, calling them and asking them. So I think if gathering that information, if you see it kind of spread across a business or spread across multiple people at a business, it's going to drive the intent of they're looking for something new, they're looking to grab something. And if that something falls within your market space or product that you're selling, it's going to give you an opportunity to go personalize that message and see if your product is the right fit for what they're looking for.
Cool. All right. And then the next follow on to that is, what are the best strategies for monetizing intent and commitment data?
Yeah, and this one, I mean, I think there's so many different avenues. I mean, of course, the way I see it is taking the intent data, the commitment data, and using it to personalize your sales approaches. So, really what you're trying to do is break through the noise of the consistent just battery of outreach calls and social media and posts and say, hey, I took a second to actually go out and learn about your company. And I took a second to see what was going on in the industry and how it's impacting your business. And now that I understand where your business is at and how it's personally affecting you as an employee and you as a business, let's have a conversation around where our products can tie into that storyline for you to make you more successful. So rather than, again, just kind of the spray and pray, let's take a step back and look at what's going on at this company, what's going on within the industry, and gather those key trigger amounts that my timing is correct, but also it's personalized based off what's going on.
Yeah, I can't emphasize enough how much it's sort of gone back to basics and best practices at this point. If you're still doing just the spray and pray, load in as many people as possible and hope something trickles out the other end, you're really hitting a point of diminishing returns, and that's really going to keep getting less and less effective. And the flip side of it is if you're doing the targeting well, if you're doing the customized content, if you're timing it right, if you're engaging with stuff that they're interested in or engaging or is topical or timely, then that's going to really stand out for you and show that you're doing this the right way versus people that are really coming at it the wrong way. And so, yeah, just being smarter at it, better at it, faster at it than the rest, that's going to be the quickest and easiest way that you're going to be able to monetize it.
I think, one thing I'll add in too, and not to have kind of a shameless plug towards Outlier and even SalesIntel, it's finding affordable tools that'll get you this information. And, one thing I love about Outlier is not only do we sync with Salesforce, but we give you the ability to track the companies that you're trying to go sell to in real time. So you don't have to go out and Google search for hours to find that trigger event, to find that timing. You can just literally select the company. We begin tracking them for you. And then we'll actually send you a notice in real time when those events happen. So if you want to go target, say, awards, I keep using awards because it works really effectively, you can actually come in and filter all the news based off the companies you care about on specifically awards and go prospect. So I think having an affordable tool that gives you all this news and information in a powerful way that's filtered and focused and useful is a great way to monetize it on as well. If you're paying, dollars a month for a tool that can make you tens of thousands, you're going to see that return really, really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we have just a couple of extra minutes left. I want to give last chance for anybody that has any questions that we've not gotten to or anything to drop those in here before we wrap. Otherwise, we'll wrap up a couple of minutes early here. All right. If not, Ryan, thank you so much for being on here with us, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Like I said, we will send out an email following this with a link to the deck and the recording, and you can reply directly to that email if you have any additional questions. Ryan, I saw your message. I'll follow up with you directly. Happy to hop on a call with you. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Ryan, thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Take care.